I told myself it was just closure, nothing more. I repeated that sentence in my head the entire drive. I believed if I said it enough times it would stay true. I never imagined my husband would arrive unexpectedly and turn one quiet visit into the moment my marriage began to fall apart. My name is Amanda. I'm 42 years old. I was married for 13 years. From the outside, our life looked stable. A home, shared routines, mutual friends. We weren't dramatic people. We didn't fight loudly. We didn't cheat, at least not in the obvious way. But silence can hide a lot. My ex, Jason, was my first real love. We dated years before I met my husband. The relationship ended badly, not because of betrayal, but because we wanted different lives. We stopped talking, but he never really left my mind. When you don't get closure, memories stay unfinished. Years into my marriage, Jason reached out. A simple message, just checking in. I should have ignored it. I didn't. At first, it felt harmless. Two adults talking about the past, sharing how life turned out. No flirting, no plans, just words. That's how it always starts. I never told my husband, Mark, about the messages. Not because I thought I was doing something wrong, but because I didn't want to explain something I didn't fully understand myself. Eventually, Jason suggested we meet in person. Just once, for closure, coffee, conversation, nothing more. I hesitated, then I agreed. I told Mark I was meeting an old friend. That part was true, I just left out the part that mattered most. The day of the meeting, I felt nervous in a way I hadn't felt in years. Not excitement, not guilt, something heavier, like opening a door you've kept locked for a long time. Jason looked older, so did I. The moment wasn't magical, it was quiet, awkward at first. We talked about our lives, our mistakes, the things we never said. That's when I realized something dangerous. I wasn't there for closure. I was there because part of me still wanted to be seen by someone who knew me before I became a wife, before responsibilities shaped me. We didn't touch, we didn't cross a physical line. But emotionally, I was standing on one. I told him I was married. He said he knew. I said the meeting didn't mean anything. He nodded, but his eyes said otherwise. That's when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Amanda. I turned around. Mark was standing there. I didn't even understand how he got there at first. My mind couldn't catch up to the moment. He wasn't angry, he wasn't shouting. He looked confused, hurt, like someone who had walked into the wrong room of his own life. He asked a simple question. What's going on? I stood there frozen. Jason stood up slowly, already knowing this wasn't his place. I said the words I had practiced in my head. It's nothing, I just needed closure. Mark looked at Jason, then back at me. Closure from what? He asked. I didn't have a good answer. Mark sat down, he didn't leave, that made it worse. Jason excused himself, mumbling something polite. The moment he walked away, the space he left felt enormous. Mark asked how long we'd been talking. I told him the truth. Months. He asked why I didn't tell him. I said I didn't want to worry him. He nodded slowly, then said something that cut deeper than yelling ever could. You didn't want to answer questions. He was right. On the drive home, we didn't speak. That silence followed us for weeks. Mark wasn't cruel, he wasn't cold. He was distant in a way that scared me more than anger. He told me he felt blindsided, that he trusted me completely, that seeing me with my ex made him question everything. I told him nothing happened, and that was true. But it wasn't the whole truth. Because something did happen. I crossed an emotional boundary without asking myself why. I went looking for closure instead of looking inward. Mark asked me if I still had feelings for Jason. I said no. Then I hesitated. That hesitation cost me more than any lie would have. We tried to talk it through. I apologized. I explained how unfinished feelings can live quietly without intention. Mark listened, but listening doesn't always mean accepting. He told me the hardest part wasn't the meeting. It was the secrecy. You decided something about our marriage without including me, he said. I didn't know how to argue with that. Trust doesn't disappear in one moment, it erodes. Mark started questioning things, small things, texts, late nights, not because he wanted to control me, but because certainty was gone. And once certainty leaves, fear moves in. I suggested counseling. He agreed, but I could tell something had shifted. He told the therapist he felt like a guest in a decision that affected his entire life. That hurt because it was true. I thought closure would bring peace. Instead, it brought consequences. Eventually, Mark asked for space. Not because he hated me, but because he didn't know how to stand beside me without doubting what he couldn't see. We separated quietly. Friends were confused, some said Mark overreacted, some said I was careless. The truth lived somewhere in between. I didn't cheat physically, but I wasn't faithful emotionally. I wanted answers from the past instead of tending to the present. And when my husband arrived unexpectedly, he didn't just see me with my ex. He saw a version of me he didn't know existed. I live alone now, not because I wanted freedom, but because I misunderstood what closure really means. Closure doesn't come from revisiting old chapters. It comes from understanding why they still pull at you. If you're watching this and thinking about reaching out to an ex just to talk, ask yourself one honest question. Are you looking for closure or escape? Because even when nothing happens, something changes. I visited my ex to get closure. Nothing more. My husband arrived unexpectedly. And I learned that sometimes the truth doesn't come from what you do, but from who sees you doing it.